Hey everybody, welcome back to Cooking Rules with Jules. That's me. My name is Julia Pontanis, and I'm here to make your kitchen experience not only incredibly easy, but healthy as well. So today what I'll be making is a chicken cauliflower rice soup using, of course, cauliflower rice, chicken tenderloins, and a bunch of veggies. So I'm pretty ingredient heavy right now, so I'll go ahead and show you everything we'll be using, but the good news is it's all going into one giant pot. So of course I'm going to need chicken stock, so make sure that there's no added sugar in this one to keep it paleo. I have here on my cutting board, you can't see, but I have about 1.5 pounds of chicken tenderloins diced up. I have a half a can of coconut milk left over from cooking earlier in the week that I'm going to use to make it creamy. There are 2 medium-sized sweet onions in here diced. I have 1 whole bag of celery diced, and I have 1 whole bag of carrots peeled and diced. So when you are making these soups, in order to keep everything cooking at the same consistency, you want them all to be approximately the same size. So as you can see here, I've diced everything to approximately 1 inch. So once I get everything in my pot, it's going to cook evenly, and I won't have some things that are raw and other things that are overcooked. I also have for this recipe about 1 pound of porcini mushrooms that I've already sliced and put onto my baking sheet. So my pan is getting ready to go into a preheated oven once I season them up with fenugreek, which will be one of your spices for today. So this is my new favorite, fenugreek. For the mushrooms, I have poultry seasoning for the chicken, which in this has sage, thyme, onion, black pepper, marjoram, celery, and cayenne. So this will be our seasoning for our chicken. And then of course, for whenever we get the soup base started, I'm going to use ground sage. It gives it a really earthy and meaty flavor. And of course, you know, our staples, salt and pepper, and extra virgin olive oil. So I'll go ahead and pull this pot out now because it was going to go right here, and we'll get this video started. While the pot is magically heating itself up back here, I went ahead and pulled out my mushrooms, so it's on a lined baking sheet. I've sliced them up to about 1/4 inch thick, and I'm gonna go ahead and season them up with that olive oil, salt, pepper, and fenugreek. So it's important to remember, I'm using this giant jug. I'm just gonna pour my 2 fingers over the top and drizzle. That whenever you're using fenugreek, it is a very potent spice, and less is always more. So going to drizzle that, check, wipe my hands, going to, oh, this guy isn't even open yet. But of course, why would it be? We'll go with the salt next. So again, you don't want to over salt anything. I'm glad I poured that in my hand. Just going to drizzle, sprinkle my mushrooms with some salt. Okay, well, I couldn't get the hole punched in for the spice, so I took the top off of my little bottle of fenugreek here, so I'm just gonna give it a light dusting. Be very, very careful with this one. And while I was doing that, my oven preheated, so I'm gonna go ahead and get these guys in there. It's on 425, and I'm just gonna roast them so they have a nice meaty taste to them. Mushrooms tend to get soggy in soups, and I don't want to have soggy mushrooms. All right, moving right along, my pan is heated up, so I'm gonna go ahead and give the coating of the bottom of a generous amount of olive oil. Since we are using chicken breast, it's not as fatty of a meat, so this one it's okay to get a little bit heavier on the olive oil. So it's nice and coated on the bottom. What we're going to do here is something called a mirepoix, and that's a French word, and that basically is your onions, your celery, and your carrots. So celery or onions in first. Have a nice little sizzle going there. I also have 1 clove of chopped garlic as well as like 1 small tube of chopped ginger. So that's also going to go into our soup as we go along. So I'm just going to stir these guys up and let them kind of get translucent before I add in my celery and my seasonings. But I am going to give them a little bit of salt. Again, know how much salt you like or don't like on your food. Soup tends to eat up a lot of salt, not gonna lie, but make sure you're using like a sea salt or pink Himalayan sea salt, not just regular old table salt. So my onions are gonna get nice and cooked up here. And while those guys are getting sauteed up, I'm gonna go ahead and start by browning my chicken breast with the poultry seasoning in another pan. So that way we have 2 things going, actually 3 things happening all at the same time, so that when it's ready, we can just put the rest of the ingredients into the soup pot and let it simmer. I have my second pan heated up. I'm on a medium heat. I'm gonna go ahead again, coat the pan with some olive oil, just enough so it doesn't stick. That's probably about a tablespoon or 1.5. Let that coat the bottom of the pan, and I'm gonna go ahead and get my chicken breast starting to brown, and I'll go ahead and put my poultry seasoning on while it's already in there. So we should get a nice sizzle happening here. Which we are, perfect. Okay. So I'm gonna get that to coat evenly over my pan, and we're gonna give those a good browning. So here we go. Poultry seasoning, I use this a lot, and I'm going to use a lot. It does tend to get a little bit powdery, not going to lie. Oh look, I'm off camera. Whee! But I want to make sure that everything is nice and seasoned. There we go. Okay, poultry seasoning on. Give it a little bit of salt. This salt container is just so full, it won't sprinkle out the top. So I'll just do it this way for today. Perfect. Well, I have my chicken going. Now I'm going to continue on and add with my celery into my mirepoix here. So celery comes in, onions are looking nice and translucent. Now remember, all your veggies are going to cook down, so don't worry about that if it feels like it's overflowing. Those quick rinse. Now I'm going to add my sage. Which went everywhere, by the way, and stir it in. I'm also going to add fresh cracked pepper. And then I'm going to let that cook down a little bit more. So here we go with the pepper. I'm going to give this about another 3 to 5 minutes to start to really simmer, and then I'm going to go back to my chicken, flip it over, and make sure it's brown on all sides. So it's been about 10 to 12 minutes, and I have my onions and celery sauteing up nice here, and they're nice and translucent, and my chicken is brown and done. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to bring the heat down on my stock pot, give my veggies a little bit of a stir. Oh, I got some nice browning on the bottom of that too. And now I'm gonna go ahead and add into my pot my chicken so it's nice and browned and cooked through. My carrots, because I don't like soggy carrots. I don't know about you guys. And my ginger and my garlic. I'm going to give it a stir, mix everything in, and then I'm going to add in my chicken stock. So this one actually might take 1.5. So luckily I always have more than one chunk of chicken stock on hand. So just gonna get this liquid in here. My mushrooms are also completely roasted, so they were in the oven for about 20 minutes. Oh no, we might be okay with just one. I have one plus a little extra that I'm gonna finish up that was in the refrigerator. So I'm gonna bring this back up to a simmer. Once this comes up to a simmer, I'm gonna go ahead and add back in my mushrooms, my coconut milk, and then my cauliflower rice. I'll bring that back up to a boil again or to a simmer and probably let it cook another 10 to 15 minutes. But we all know with soups that the longer that they sit, the better that they taste. So we might actually eat this one tomorrow. When I'm ready to add in the cauliflower, I'm also going to make sure that it's not too cold. I'm sorry, brain freeze. The cauliflower is frozen. I don't want that rice cauliflower to drop the temperature of my soup, so I'm gonna try and get it as room temperature as possible. All right, so it's been about another 10 to 15 minutes. I went ahead and already added back in my mushrooms into my pot. So now I'm going to get my coconut milk. And of course, this is full fat. This one happens to be from Trader Joe's. And it's delicious and fantastic. So it's gonna give me my nice creamy element to my soup. Oh yeah. You could use a full can if you wanted to. It would just make it extra creamy if you felt more of like a creamy chicken and rice soup. But this one I just wanted to use up what I had. Into the sink it goes. And then of course my cauliflower rice, which I might have neglected to show you guys in the beginning. This one again is a Costco find. It's organic, nothing else is in it. So it's gonna be fantastic in the soup. So I'm gonna go ahead and just easy pour it in here because I don't want to splatter myself and get burned. So I'm gonna shoot for, that's about a cup of cauliflower rice. And then I'm gonna stir that in. Oops. And I have here, this makes a ton of food, you guys. This is great for meal prep. Soup is wonderful for lunch, and especially since this is a paleo chicken and rice soup. If you're doing a nutrition challenge or you just live a paleo life, this is also fantastic. So I'm gonna let this sit here and simmer about another 20 minutes. And then of course I can always serve it with a salad. So as always, thank you for joining me. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, tell me why so I can make it better. This one felt a little choppy, not gonna lie. It's the end of a Sunday and just feeling like sometimes cooking and talking aren't always on key, but that's okay too. So I hope you enjoy, hit subscribe, that way you can see my video every Wednesday. All right, until next time guys, bye.